Welcome to the August 2nd meeting, Philipstown Town Board, here at Town Hall. I'm a little surprised to see this many people, but I'm happy. I'm happy for an audience. Review of the minutes. Public hearing of June 20th, 2018, vape shops.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Weekly Town Board meeting of June 20th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. I know somebody was absent.
Yep, on page 4.
Okay. Weekly Town Board meeting of June 27th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain, I missed that meeting.
Okay, Bob.
They were
You gonna get
coaching, they were
there's-
fulfilling their community
Get it-
responsibilities.
Both get a demerit. Bid opening of July 11th, window replacement.
I wasn't there.
Who was there?
Nobody.
My office does the bid opening, but you have to have minutes for it.
Okay, well, let's approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. There was no bids.
No bids, right?
Monthly meeting of July 12th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
Okay, the Stormwater Committee met on August 1st. Resident basically was asked for a meeting. That's with Carl Frisenda, the Highway Superintendent, Max Garfinkel, the Natural Resource Officer and Wetlands Inspector, and myself, Michael Leonard. The discussion basically dealt with dirt roads, the maintenance and construction strategies. Pretty much went into a lot of depth in regards to, Carl explained a lot of the strategies and staffing and so forth involved with dealing with it. Approximately 30 miles of our town is paved, about 30 miles is dirt. The crews have to be split into two. Some considerations were raised regarding, obviously, rainfalls and the actual deterioration of how quickly some of the roads deteriorate. Carl stressed the fact that it's very critical to get on top of any kind of road damage immediately, because if you allow it to continue, it'll only escalate into larger problems. Also, a discussion took place mainly, and that's why I want to mention it here too, is that a lot of times, especially the dirt roads, have problems because of private property. Private property draining their actual stormwater into the roads itself. If you drive down roads, you can actually see the washouts coming from driveways and areas. So it's very important. Obviously, if you come before for the boards or so forth for a change to your property, you will in fact have to provide a stormwater protection plan. But most properties don't do that, and therefore it's really the onus is on the private property owners. We're not asking about obviously hurricanes. They become too large and very, almost impossible to control the water. But what happens to your water? Is it being funneled properly and stopped? A lot of times, plantings, trees, plants, they can soak up and absorb a lot of water. They can also help our environment because they provide oxygen back. These kinds of things, swales, retention ponds, if you have wetlands, make sure that they're being utilized and taken care of properly. They have a valuable resource for you and for the community, because basically they're considered the kidneys of the environment. They actually filter all of the waters going into them and so forth and provide clean, quality water back. So, the discussion was pretty good. I think for the resident, it was an education to some degree. Obviously, some good ideas came forward regarding a possibility of the engineers and so forth being involved in some projects, or even the building inspector maybe being made aware more of when dirt roads are involved regarding certain construction, so that could be possibly evaluated. So there has been some internal discussion, I guess, or some thoughts rather, about zoning changes regarding, mostly about the Chapter 93 regarding the wetlands. They may have to be changed a little. Another clear problem that was identified by Carl Frisenda is the high speed on the roads and the trucks. They are really causing a lot of problems. 80%, according to Carl, 80% of our roads are those narrow one-laners. Anybody who's traveled or lives on dirt roads knows, for the most part, the dirt roads are glorified horse trails. They have really never been really widened in many areas, so it's very important. Regardless of possible speed limits from DOT, you really need to drive those roads at a slower pace and and the roads will be able to hold up better. Some discussion occurred also regarding widening the roads. Well, in a lot of cases, the roads are not either owned, where the town can't do that. Eminent domain is a process that no one really wants to ever go through. It's a long process, and no one really wants to take somebody's private property. It also would involve a number of destruction of rock walls, and we know that our rock walls in our community are quite sacred for us, so a lot of them would go. I think if you drive down roads, you can see they're virtually on the sides. So it was a very good discussion. It's the kind of discussions we do encourage, if people have questions and so forth, to come forward, and it does give us some information. Carl is always in a continuing education program to learn about new ideas and fixes for the roads. So the meeting went very well. Today, I went to a meeting with for Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff regarding Riverkeeper. And Michelle Smith's in the audience. I know she went to the Poughkeepsie meeting, I believe, regarding, these are actually the barriers that they want to place. There are actually 6 barriers. And I only got this a little earlier today, so I don't have a lot of detail about it. But for the most part, these barriers, which would actually protect supposedly the mouth of the ocean to the Hudson River, would approximately cost any of these ideas roughly about $50 billion. That's with a B. They would also cost about $2 billion a year to maintain. Those costs will not be covered by the federal government. That will be covered by the state, meaning us. Riverkeeper obviously has some serious issues regarding these gates because they will clearly impact the environment. I think one of the biggest things that he mentioned a few times that I came away with today was the fact that the tidal surge, which occurs at the mouth of the New York City, actually the tidal surge runs all the way up the Hudson to Troy, New York. And that surge is the lifeblood of the Hudson River. If you were to place gates in there and actually stop that current, you would actually start to kill the Hudson River, and it would have effects on it, seriously. Just not to get into a lot of detail with this, but obviously there are a number of gate designs and so forth. Something that Riverkeeper mentioned, which I thought was a very good idea, was that maybe it's time to take a look at our communities and protect them, meaning town by town and the shorelines. In attendance was the new mayor from Peekskill, the Buchanan, Cortland, Ossining, towns and villages and so forth. There were a lot of representatives there. Obviously, all of us were Hudson River officials, and this would clearly have a clear impact on us because we know that water is actually, the actual climate is changing enough to raise the water, which is rising, and that's a fact. That's not fiction. So in other words, a lot of our areas will be affected simply by river rise and so forth, and to go ahead and create artificial barriers could be quite detrimental. I think places along the ocean in New York and New Jersey have taken some good proactive steps with the federal government to create some protections, to require people to protect against stormwater damage. That means starting to, when you have new construction or whatever, to raise your houses, get them out of harm's way. You look along the Hudson River here, it's not going to take an awful lot, really. I've been a flood victim. I know how fast it happens and how quick, and these areas are really not ready for that kind of possible destruction in the future. So it was a sobering discussion, but it was a good one. And obviously there'll need to be some other meetings, but unfortunately the notices to the meetings have been very poor. This is a very quick turnaround for timeline, and it's very important that we stay on top of this and let them know. We were very proactive with the barges. It seems like the Hudson River seems to be constantly under attack. Riverkeeper pretty much said that that's nothing compared to this. So that gives you an indication as to how serious an issue this is. So I'll be following up with that and providing some details in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Recreation.
I attended the July 31st meeting of the Rec Commission. The minutes and financial reports from May and June were read and approved. Amber reported that we were halfway through the camping season. Camp is running great and at nearly full capacity, and the programs are being enjoyed by everyone. The full, sorry, Seal.
Oh,
Uh-oh. You want me to start over? The full book is now out.
Don't.
The full book is now out. I think it came out in yesterday's paper. Registration will be open on Monday. They're planning the Castle to River Run this year. It will be held on November 17th. There's going to be a children's 1 mile. There'll be a 5K, a half marathon, and a full marathon. And the next meeting of the Rec Commission will be held on September 18th at 7 p.m.
That's ambitious.
That's a late
Full marathon.
Run, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe
Last
we'll-
Philipstown Coalition that cares.
So the coalition does not meet in the summer. As reported last month, we follow the school calendar. And I'm going to sing now. But we are planning to hold a vigil on August 31st for International Overdose Awareness Month, and that will be held down at the riverfront, and we're planning that as we speak. I do have a resolution here that we will probably discuss later on in the meeting regarding vaping and tobacco use, which the coalition is strongly involved with. So we'll.
What was that date?
August 31st is the vigil.
Got
We
it.
held one last year, and
Yeah,
it was
I
very
attended
well
that.
attended and sweet. And anybody who wants to come out, light a candle. We do have some guest speakers, people who have been affected by this, and looking forward to honoring the families and just gathering to heal as a community as we continue to try to combat this crisis.
Thank you. Planning Board.
Okay, I attended the planning board meeting July 19th. It was a pretty full agenda. First on the agenda was J. Mark Jewelers. I reported last month that they were looking to expand 240 square feet of their showroom. The application was approved unanimously. Hudson Highlands Reserve, the board voted to adopt the final amendment scope. The application will now move to prepare a draft environmental impact statement. So, as I said, I've been reporting on this for several years, and that's where we're at now. So, we'll take the next steps. Another public hearing was for James Copeland, 3052 Route 9. He's changing his space from retail to office space. There was no public comment. The public hearing was closed, and the board approved his plan, so he'll be moving forward with that as well. Another public hearing was for Garrison Holding, 88 to 92 Whipping Willow Pond Road. I also reported this on it 2 months ago. Another public hearing. There was no public comment at that one either. So that public hearing was closed. Ron Gaynor is going to prepare a negative declaration under seeker and be approved for the next meeting. They're just basically building a new house with a cottage and a garage down here. So the new on the applications was Taylor Foster, Fosty, I think it is, 220 South Highland Road, Garrison. Application is seeking approval of a new single-family residence for approximately 4,000 square feet with a detached garage for approximately 900 square feet. The property is approximately 17 acres and was located in the residential zoning district across from the Garrison Fish and Fur Club. The board voted this is a minor project. The board voted to make themselves the lead agency under seeker and declared it on list in action. The board voted to refer the project to the Conservation Board and a local firehouse. Site visit is scheduled for September 9th at 9:30. The board will not be holding a meeting in August, so the next planning board meeting was September 20th, 7:30. End the report. You're welcome.
Zoning.
Zoning, the July meeting I reported at our monthly meeting, and there will be no meeting in the month of August for the zoning board. They will meet again on Monday, September 10th.
Highway.
I have that as well. Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent, work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of July. The highway crews have been extremely busy with all of the usual summer maintenance, grading dirt roads, potholing, clearing waterways, and cutting back brush. It is paving time for the highway crews. The following roads have been completed: Morris Road, Allen Road, Aqueduct Road, Winston Lane, Diamond Hill, Travis Corners, and Perks Boulevard. In order to keep up with the heavy grass growth, Ralph Falloon has been hired as a part-time mower. The Highway Department received approximately 40 calls or faxes regarding road complaints and other road issues in the month of June, and the Highway Department has spent roughly $4,600 in vehicle maintenance for the month of June. Submitted, Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent.
Thank you. Library.
I have a report here submitted by Jillian Thorpe, Butterfield.
Butterfield.
Julia Butterfield and Jillian Thorpe, our librarian. Just quick bullet points added to their extensive museum pass collection is the Frick Collection in New York City and the Empire Pass to have free access to all New York State parks. Go by the library, get your passes. They'll be holding a crazy calendar raffle. Winners will be announced in October. One winner each day in October, and tickets can be purchased for $10 at the library. Most importantly, I think the library does offer weekly walk-in tech help between 3 and 5 p.m. on Fridays. Ask for Patrick. If you cannot make a Friday, email the library and they will arrange a one-on-one session. You can also learn about the library's digital material from their website, butterfieldlibrary.org. You can download and stream music through FreeGal, and you can keep 3 songs a week. And the library would love to visit any local not-for-profit organization or business. They're available to host programs in your space or have you visit the library space. You can contact Jillian Thorpe for more information. They also offer walking history tours at the library. For more information on the next tour, visit the library's online calendar. And the G. Marzolo Children's Room project is in full swing. Look for some plans to be shared shortly. Thanks.
Thank you. Under building and land acquisition, we did let out the bid packet for town hall and the renovations here. We will be adding an addendum to that or rebidding it because it seems that we're going to surpass the amount that would trigger the Wicks laws, so painful. Cemetery Committee.
Okay, I went to the county cemetery meeting on August 1st in Mayapack. The committee, which I had mentioned before, had proposed an idea of going to the county for approval to have an annual cemetery recognition day. So the group approved that, and for the most part, it's believed that Carmel will probably start since that was something that they started years earlier. We will probably support them, meaning we will pick certain of their cemeteries and help read the reviews and get started. But probably the year after, it will be Philipstown. So it will require our group, and of course anybody who would like to join our committee is welcome, to do some more research, because if you have guided tours, you need to obviously be identifying certain points of interest, historical and so forth, actually located in there. And the only other thing was I had another tree come down in Cedar Street. Thank you to Jerry from Philipstown Tree for acting very quickly. Thankfully, no damage to any stones. I'm dreading, we've done so much restoration of both cemeteries, I'm dreading if one falls and damages them. I don't think I can take it, so, but that's it, thanks.
Thanks, Mike. I'll tell you, my hat is off to Mike. He has just done a tremendous job with the cemeteries. The cemeteries have never looked so good, and I know, it is a sort of a tribute and a legacy from Betty Budney. But they really, really look spectacular. I mean, you're to be commended on that. It's just, they really look good. I mean, and this is a real physical appearance thing.
Definitely,
With the stones
without
being
doubt.
back
Yeah.
up,
Yep.
they look terrific. So if you have a chance, you should go by and look at the historic cemeteries. They,
A lot of history.
yeah, have not looked that good in probably 100 years. All right, that's it.
Okay, first item on the agenda is a resolution reappointing Dorothy Gilman as a member of the Board of Assessment Review, whose term will expire September 30th, 2023.
All right, Dottie's not here, so we're going to reappoint her quickly, so I don't know what hit her.
Long term.
Dottie's been a real stalwart for the town for many years, a great volunteer in so many different areas, so I'm happy to entertain a motion on that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you, Dottie Gilman.
Okay, the next item is a resolution reappointing Philip Kotnick as a member of the Recreation Commission, whose term will expire September 1st, 2025.
Phil's not here either, and it's like, this is like a parole board.
Yeah.
He's going back in. Some serious time, 2025. All right, Phil Kotnick is a great guy. Anybody who doesn't know him should. He's just, really a terrific person and another really community-minded person. So we're happy to have smart, dedicated people for these positions, especially the Recreation Commission. So could I get a motion on that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you. Thank you to Phil Kotnick. I mean that. That's heartfelt. You're a terrific guy.
Next item is a resolution reappointing Claudio Marzola as a member of the Recreation Commission, whose term will expire September 1st, 2025.
Claudio who?
Yeah, right. Seen his name somewhere.
Anyone who doesn't know Claudio Marzolo has to leave now. Claudio has been a volunteer in this town since the day he landed. I don't know when that would have been.
1900.
Plymouth Rock.
Definitely since the 60s. But another really, really dedicated person to this community. And he and his wife have just given so much to the town. You know, Jean, God rest her soul. But just terrific, a great family. And everybody, you have to love Claudio. So I'm happy to entertain that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you so much, Claudio.
Okay, the next item is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report.
Before we get to that, can we
You want to do that now?
do the resolution? Yeah, as long as we're doing a resolution roll, right? Nancy, do you want to talk about this for a minute?
Sure, I just have a resolution here recognizing that preventing tobacco and vape use must be a priority for our community. This is something that, I would like to see our town make a stand on because it's really the beginning of what comes after, and we know the problems our community is faced with drug use and alcohol use in minors, and something that, I've been working on since my first term, probably 8 years ago, attending a Narcan training up at Dutchess Community College when Senator Gibson was senator, and following this diligently ever since, and scratching my head trying to figure out what can we do. And we have taken steps as a community. We've got a wonderful coalition that works very hard to address the problem, and we just want to keep going. So this resolution, I don't know if you want to read it, Richard?
No, you read it. Go ahead.
Whereas approximately 96% of smokers begin smoking before the age of 21, with most beginning before the age of 16, smokers frequently transition from experimentation to addiction between the ages of 18 and 21. Whereas youth get their cigarettes from social sources, most of whom are peers ages 18 to 21. Today, there are more 18 and 19-year-olds in high school than in past years. Thus, permitting tobacco sales to 18 or 19-year-olds no longer makes sense. Whereas few 21-year-olds travel within high school social circles. Thus, raising the minimum consumer age for tobacco sales to 21 will effectively remove this critical source of tobacco, thereby delaying or preventing smoking initiation. Whereas evidence shows the younger the age of initiation, the greater the risk of nicotine addiction, heavy daily smoking, and difficulty quitting. Whereas adolescents are particularly susceptible to the rewarding effects of nicotine. In fact, nicotine addiction, which can develop at low levels of exposure well before established daily smoking, causes 3 out of 4 young smokers to continue smoking into adulthood, even if they intended to quit after a few years. Whereas recent studies indicate that the brain continues to develop until approximately 25. God, I hope so. Particularly in ways that affect impulsivity, addiction, and decision-making. Whereas delaying smoking initiation reduces the likelihood of ever starting, reduces the number of regular smokers, and lessens the immediate, mid, and long-term health effects of smoking to an individual. So be it resolved that the town of Philipstown recognizes that preventing tobacco, vape use by those under 25 must be a priority for our community and supports actions that prevent youth from using tobacco vape products. We recognize that preventing tobacco vape use is the most impactful public health strategy for our community and are committed to increasing the health of our community through preventing tobacco vape use. This is also something, there's a law before the Putnam County Legislature called T21, making it a law, making it illegal to sell to people under the age of 21, raising the age, which I fully support. I would like to see, as one of our constituents came and presented, to be included in that law, making it illegal for kids to smoke. I mean, we can make it illegal to sell, but you could still have an 8-year-old on Main Street smoking, and it's perfectly legal. We're not the type of community that's going to accost children on the street and bring them in and lock them up. I mean, this is something that I believe if kids know it's illegal for them to do, maybe they would be less likely to do it. So those are some things that I wish the legislature would consider when they're considering T21. And I think this is a great start in the actions we're taking to prevent this crisis of substance abuse in general. So thank you. Hopefully
Thank
I
you.
can have your support.
Thanks for all your efforts on this.
Yeah,
I think
good job.
everybody recognizes the importance of this. With that, could I get a motion on the resolution?
Someone,
Oh, I think
Oh.
maybe.
Awesome.
Second.
she should, sorry. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you so much.
Thanks. So
Nancy.
with that, I'll send this to the New York State Council on Addiction, and also, Putnam County will recognize that we support any efforts to prevent use of
I can sign a
tobacco.
copy of it.
And then Richard will sign the
You
copy.
did already, Richard.
Oh, I did in there?
Great. Do we all have to sign it or no?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Thanks a
much.
lot. We work really well together. It's so nice.
Okay, next is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. For the town of Philipstown, fees collected $32,037.25. Total number of permits issued, 35. There were 4 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 31 all other permits, pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc., 34 CO issued, 1 stop work order, 1 permit issued for the use of pyrotechnic devices, 3 inspections of public assembly, 2 inspections of commercial occupancies, and there was 1 residential project started. And for the village of Cold Spring, that doesn't look right.
That's a big number.
Well, we got 29 permits issued.
Yeah, Butterfield's in full swing, true. And I'll tell you, if you want to talk about stormwater, I drove by there during that rain, and they are not controlling their stormwater at all. There was nothing but brown water coming off that site.
Okay, so fees collected, $20,002.25. Total number of permits issued, 29. 3 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 26 all other permits, and 30 COs issued.
Must be doing some cleanup down there. Oh, Greg, nice work. Anything from the board?
Just one thing, as they reported last month, we're in the process of doing the solar panels down in Garrison. I got the paperwork for the company to represent us to talk to Central Hudson, and as we all know, the electric bills in Garrison Institute. So I just got the paperwork the other day to get that changed over from Garrison Institute to us. So I just got the paperwork yesterday, I filled it out, but I gotta talk to you or Susan, because there's some financials regarding that.
Yeah, basically, it's a technicality. I mean, really, it's just the person whose name is on the bill. They had it
Correct.
before.
Right.
I mean, maybe we can,
There is a percentage breakdown on the way they pay them.
Yeah.
oh, I know that,
It is.
yeah.
But
Amber
we-
should be consulted, I would say.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
but your thing is, for them to move forward, the
Right.
bill has to be in Philipstown's name.
Yeah, and
It's not.
I had broached that subject the last round with this, with the superintendent down there, so,
Of Garrison Institute?
yeah, the guy who does the facilities manager. So, I mean, if it's,
Talking to Central Hudson, I didn't really need anyone's permission to do it except for us.
Well, let's do it. We should notify him,
Yeah,
definitely
okay.
notify him, but I'm sure, I mean, I know that they're very environmentally minded, and
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure.
obviously,
Yeah.
it's not gonna change anything as far as the way
Correct.
things are,
It's just, it's gonna help us
you know,
reduce our electric.
allocated, right?
So anyway, once I get that straightened out, hopefully we move forward, but
Terrific. Great. All right. Anything else?
So I attended that shared service meeting over at Putnam County.
Lucky
That
you.
Have you ever been there? You were there.
Been there.
That's all I have to say. No. This is something that we have been mandated by the county to do.
The state of New York.
The state of New York, and to come up with a plan to share services, amongst the towns in Putnam County and with the county. They do have their plan that they presented by the RBA group, which is also the group that's doing the Fjord Trail.
They were.
Okay. So they're moving forward with it. There's not a heck of a lot that's in the plan that we can participate in, just because geographically it's difficult to share. The truck cleaning, say. They want to have a facility where everybody in Putnam County can go to clean their trucks, their highway trucks.
Vehicles, yeah.
So it would make sense for us to drive over to Carmel to get that done. But one of the things I had a question about was the plowing, plow in and out, and
Plow up, plow
plow
down.
plow up, plow down. Wanted to know if we
Yeah,
weren't
I mean-
we weren't on a lot of the lists, and I would report back to them if you're interested. And
Well, the one thing is 301. Doesn't make sense for them to
Yeah.
come from Carmel
well,
all the way to Cold Spring, and then they do 9D. And they
right.
get paid by New York State, and they get paid pretty handsomely, so
And
it
we
could be
have,
something we could consider.
Chapman Road, they literally just stop in front of, somebody's house. And
Yeah,
if they could just go on a little bit more and
yeah, there are
plow.
things that we could definitely
So we're willing to participate in that.
definitely willing to talk about it,
Okay.
and also equipment sharing. We have things they don't have because nobody has dirt roads, but once in a while they'll need a grader.
So
There's all
everybody's
sorts
not
of
going out and
things.
buying. So, okay. But
Yeah.
that is an interesting, I hope, something does come of the plan. Be great.
Yeah, I've sat in a lot of these meetings, and there's been a lot of input from the supervisors, but we had offered to meet with the county executive on multiple occasions to have input directly, and we were rebuffed. We were told to come in with the public, so it was probably not the best idea on their part. They didn't get really good input from the supervisors. I mean, we submitted something to them that jointly we had come together and said, look, these are things we would definitely consider. We can't go and tell our highway superintendents, look, you're going to do this. It takes a lot more coordination than just, and I don't know, here is not so much with the politics, but in other areas it feels like, there's some real reluctance to let the county do anything. I mean, obviously, everybody's got a deep suspicion of the county, which is sad, but it's well-founded.
Well, that's what I try. I'm more interested in certainly sharing services, but keeping control, local control.
Absolutely, yeah.
And,
I know one of the ideas floated is take over the assessors, and I would
No.
absolutely not
we
be
have
in
a
favor
great
of that.
assessor. Why would we do that?
And it's
right?
just, that sort of thing never works out. Your assessor is a local person who knows the town, and that's it. So we're not giving that up. And, a lot of this is a dog and pony show by the state of New York.
Yeah.
It's sort of
Well,
ridiculous.
that's my concern with all of these things, that we spend a lot of time and effort, and we've got this other thing with the planning, Main Street. We just did that 10 years ago.
But nobody even
for the-
consulted us. Hey, here's what's good for your town.
Yeah, so,
It's like, oh, thank you.
we spend a lot of time and money on these studies and plans, and
And a lot of it, there was supposed to be sidewalks put in the North Highlands.
But we're-
Well, we talked about that 10 years ago, right in
right.
this room.
And it
Sit
never-
down.
I went over to the county every month and discussed that
Yeah,
plan, so.
complete streets and things like that.
Yeah. I
All of a
don't-
sudden, another study comes along. We had a study then.
It's on the shelf. It was online for a time, but it's not. But, so I attended that. It's good to keep an eye on it. I'm happy to go over again. And
Yeah.
there will be a series of public hearings regarding this shared service plan. And I've asked for a meeting over on this side of the county.
Right. We do have to have a plan in place, I understand that. But again, I do think it's much ado about nothing. It's just window dressing from the state of New York. It's another way to foist off things on, down the line, on towns that are already overstressed. They have all the money. If they want to share services, great,
it on.
come on in. Come on and share them with us. But us here, we're sharing crumbs, and, it keeps trickling, or it doesn't trickle down to, what rolls downhill, and that's what we wind up with. So,
Unfunded mandates.
yeah, exactly. And we send a lot of money to the county too, and it's, hey, you want to share services? Yeah, we would like you to share our tax money with us. So that's what I always say.
Record sales tax.
Record sales tax, and
Expected
finding
first
ways
6
to spend
months.
it on ridiculous studies that don't need to be done. So that's just really burns me. And I look at,
59 million are gonna have this year.
we, over the course of 2 years, we had a 15.3% tax increase in the county, from the county, county property tax. County property tax is higher than town property tax. I am not seeing it. We sent them in 2013, $6.79 million. That's a ton of cake.
57 counties, upstate New York, share, only 10, I think 9 or 10 don't.
It's
Of
not
course.
10, it's 9 or less.
It's right, it's 9 or less, and Putnam's one of them,
Yep.
so.
Dutchess does revenue sharing, Westchester does revenue sharing, sandwiched right in the middle. I guess that's like the sandwich you offer somebody, It's got the good news on the outside, and that stuff in the middle. I don't enjoy those. Anything from the audience? I see all these people, there must be something going on. Oh, Jen? I have to hear from Jen.
Can I give a library report?
Absolutely.
Another library report?
Yeah.
Second library
Nice
report.
dress.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the town council again for all your support for the Desmond Fish Library. We're having such a great year. Our board adopted our long-range plan for the next 5 years in January, and a big focus of that is sustainability for the library. So we have some sustainability projects that we're working on for the coming year. And we're also really focused on community engagement. And you'll see in the audience with me 2 of our board members who are members of our community engagement committee, and member of our friends group, Sylvia Wallen, who are all working together to put together some great community engagement programs for the library. And 2 of those I'd love to highlight. We're working on an event in September to celebrate our first responders. We're inviting all of the fire departments, all 4, and both of the ambulance corps in Philipstown to the library for a community-wide barbecue. I hope you guys will come. It's free. We're getting in-kind donations from vendors.
When is it?
It's tentatively scheduled for September 23rd. It's going to be a Sunday afternoon at the library on the grounds with a rain date of the 30th. And it's just a great way to honor our local volunteers who keep us safe and sound throughout the year. And we'd love to have the council represented at that as well. And also just a big shout out, I have to do this every year, but we have a ton of volunteers at the library as we speak, putting together our annual book sale, which is a big fundraiser for the library, something that people look forward to every year, and it's coming up, opens on August 18th, and it'll run through the 27th, so definitely mark your calendars for that. We have, I think we estimated 26 tons of books this year, so we're doing a service to people who are not recycling or throwing away their books as well, so that's another great thing. We actually did it by cubic yard. We estimated by cubic yard, so 2 barnfuls of books. And I just also wanted to thank the council. Because of your support, we were able to open our new Innovation and Learning Center in April. We've been able to double the number of programs that we're offering on a weekly basis for kids, with digital literacy programs 3 days a week on a regular basis, and special programs. We just did our first STEAM camp. It was 2 weeks of free camp for kids. Grades, I think, 3 through 7, and it was such a success. We're so excited to expand on it in the coming year. And in August, we're doing a series of basic computer skills and job skills workshops on Friday afternoons. So if people are interested in coming by for that, we welcome that as well. And we're so excited about all the great things that are happening, and we really rely on the town's support. So I just wanted to tell you that your investment in the library is going a long way to serve people in Philipstown. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
And I'll send you the flyers for these for the town
Thanks
channel.
for
Yeah.
doing that picnic. I mean, it's something that we've always talked about, and I love that a not-for-profit is just stepping up and doing that. And
Yeah, we have the space for it,
thinking,
and the
that's
library's
so
for
great.
everybody. So yeah, it seems like
Thank
a good
you.
fit.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jen. Yes, Roger. Sure. Come on up. Could I stop you?
You could try. Is lettuce free.
Thank you.
So I'll read the letter. I'm sorry for not asking to be put on the agenda tonight, but since we just learned today about certain things taking place, this became the next progression. All right? So, my name is Roger Gorovic. I reside with my wife, Callie, at 60 Round Hill Road. I speak for all of those concerned residents who have signed below and others who are not available for tonight's meeting. As you know, Callie and I have been opponents of Homeland Tower's proposed cell phone tower at 50 Vineyard Road. Our opposition is founded on the fact that another cell tower is not needed in that location, that property values will decrease dramatically, and that there are no gaps in service, etc. The Zoning Board of Appeals and the Conservation Board have denied the necessary permits to Homeland Towers to build the 50 Vineyard Road Tower. The Town Board has affirmed those decisions, and we are extremely grateful. However, the matter has entered a new and crucial phase. Homeland Towers has filed a lawsuit in the Federal District Court for the Southern District of New York. The Town Board has applied to its insurance carrier for representation in this matter, and the insurance carrier has retained an attorney, Mr. Terry Rice, to represent the town in this matter. A group of adjacent property owners have hired an experienced telecommunication attorney, Andrew J. Campanelli, to represent their interests in this matter. The town's interests, as recognized by the ZBA and ZB, are entirely consistent with our groups. Mr. Campanelli has made a motion in the court to allow the group to intervene in the proceeding. The motion has not been decided at this point. The court has set August 30th, 2018 as a date for a settlement conference on the matter. According to our counsel, this meeting is open to the public, and a representative of Mr. Campanelli's office plans to attend. Homeland Towers has submitted what we believe is a vaguely worded settlement offer, but which still includes building a tower on Vineyard Road. We have become quite concerned about the lack of information available to our attorney about the status of the case and any settlement discussion specifically. Some of the reasons for our concern are: number one, the town attorney requested that Mr. Rice contact members of our group to see if they could provide technical assistance to him. Mr. Rice has never responded to 2 or 3 attempts to contact. Mr. Campanelli has attempted to contact Mr. Rice, but he has never responded to him. 3, when our group submitted its motion to intervene in the proceeding, Mr. Rice, as the attorney representing the town's interest, could have submitted a brief motion in support, no objection or even abstention, but no response to our motion was ever filed. According to our counsel, a motion in support would have been very helpful when the court considers our motion to intervene. We understand that the council members have had difficulty in contacting Mr. Rice. 5, we understand, based on discussions with our counsel, that Mr. Rice to date has provided limited assistance in preparing witnesses for the case. The net effect of the above is that, as the persons most directly affected by this case, we have no idea of what is going on. We believe in order to remedy this situation, the town board should take the following steps as soon as possible. 1, meet in person with Mr. Rice to discuss A, his reason for not supporting our motion to intervene and why he would not make such a motion now. B, an update on the status of the case, including strengths and weaknesses. C, the position he suggests the town board take on any proposed settlement and the reasons to even entertain any settlement. D, assistance to town officials, employees in preparing for motions or trial. 2, preparation of a report to the community describing the status of the case and describing in general terms the town board's position on their approach to any settlement.
All right, I'm going to respond to some of these.
Many thanks for your help.
Yeah, sure.
This is not an adversarial. We just,
No.
we don't know the answers.
I also want to clarify some of these. First off, Mr. Rice is not a town attorney. Mr. Rice is an insurance company attorney. So that makes a big difference. our insurance company hires him, and he represents the town, obviously, but also the interests of the insurance company. So there is a distinct difference between our attorney, which would be Adam Rod, Steve Gaba, Drake Loeb, and an attorney representing an insurance company. I did ask 2 weeks ago that Terry Rice contact Mr. Campanelli. I called him twice, spoke to him twice, and he assured me that he would. So I'll follow up with that. We haven't had difficulty contacting Mr. Rice. There just hasn't been a lot of contact between us. But when I call him, I get him. He calls me back. He did prep the first person to be deposed was our radio frequency consultant. He got in and prepped our RF consultant for that deposition. So
Are you sure of that?
I am sure of that, yes. As far as meeting in person, we will be meeting in person with Mr. Rice. It's been, in his estimation, a little early to sit down with the town board. There has been a lot to discuss at this point. An update on the status of the case, including strengths and weaknesses. I have had numerous discussions with him about this. It is a legal matter, so it's not the sort of thing we can just start really going into any detail in public. I mean, as far as you're not going to want to play your hand
I appreciate it.
to a company like Homeland or Verizon or any of these. I will confirm that there was a settlement offered, and there's been no action taken on that. And, in polling the board, we weren't inclined to, there wasn't a lot of difference in that settlement offer than any of the previous discussions. And there was sort of some muddying of the water there between what the town of Philipstown is taking into action versus the village of Nelsonville. It just seemed, it was a confused offer. It seemed sort of sloppily thrown together. So we were asking for some clarity on that, and also for some distinction as to what the difference would be in the settlement as compared with the thing that we just rejected.
I guess I would have to ask the question at this point, why is there a settlement hearing going to take place?
Well, they have to. If there's a settlement offered, they have to have a hearing on it. And it has to be,
Okay.
it's either has to be rejected out of hand or some modification made or any of the above. So, if there's anyone else being deposed, we'll definitely have Terry Rice prepping them, obviously, before the depositions. And
Sure.
we've spoken about that. As far as preparing a report in broad terms, we could do that. Again, we can't go into real specifics in a report, because if that falls into the opposition's hands, obviously that's not good for our position.
Is there any way that Andrew Campanelli can be apprised of what's gone on?
Yeah, I would
From,
agree with that, and that was my end in 2 weeks ago, speaking to Mr. Rice, and I'm a little surprised or disappointed to find out that he had not spoken to Campanelli. So I'll call him again tomorrow and make sure that
Okay.
that conversation takes place.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, it would. So, as far as
You wanna
what's
say
going,
Go on. You could all take over. I read it.
I think you have somebody coming up to the lectern here.
Joel Cooper at 120 Rockwood Road. I just had a question to get some clarification on what you just mentioned, that there appeared to be some conflict between Mr. Rice as representative of the insurance company and the town. And it seems to me it has to be clear who his client is, and ethically he's required to represent his client's interests, which I think is the town, not the insurance company.
There are joint interests there, obviously, yeah. I mean, the insurance company wants to prevail, and we want to prevail.
Right.
So ultimately, our interests are aligned.
But I mean, who is the client?
The town of
You know,
Philipstown is the client. I mean, he's representing the town of
Yeah,
Philipstown.
well,
He's hired by the insurance company to represent the town of Philipstown. Obviously, they don't want to have to pay a settlement of any sort, so they're,
Well, my question is, ethically, can he even consider the interests of the insurance company in having a quick settlement?
I have no idea, but the
No, I'm
settlement,
sure.
any settlement that would have to be approved by the town board, so. We're
Well,
not-
it's just, I just
We're not
wanted
going
to
to blindly
yeah.
sign on to something.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to understand who is the client and just my,
We're the client,
yeah.
but again, have we worked with Terry Rice before? No, we have not.
Do you know what his background in telecommunications litigation is?
And again, we don't have discretion in
Yeah,
who the
yeah,
insurance
I know.
company hires.
Right. Well, then I reiterate, I think Mr. Campanelli's involvement would be helpful
Oh, I agree.
and free of cost.
I agree.
We're paying for it.
Thank you.
I'm glad you are.
We have to do something.
Thank you. Good point.
Yes, Callie?
Can we get Mr. Rice to support our motion for intervention?
I will ask him that tomorrow.
Will you let us know?
I will let you know.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Sterling. I live on Lake Gate Road. I guess I still don't really understand I get the idea of having to file an insurance claim because the town's been being sued by some pretty heavyweight, well-resourced people. But I don't fully understand that I guess the objective of the insurance company and their attorney, I won't say versus, but I guess alongside what would be the town's attorney or even people that are now, frankly, funding out of their own expenses, a true telecommunications attorney. And I mean, obviously I want to hear that the insurance company, in looking out for the best interest of the town, is going to say the town has denied the permits, that multiple boards have gone through it, the residents have spoken, this is where this all has to go. And I'm glad to hear you say that the board has to approve any settlement offer. But I think we're all getting the impression that the insurance company, and no offense to Mr. Rice, I don't know him at all, even you're saying, just this process, and from what I understand, it's only 28 days away till a federal court hearing, just on the settlement part. At any point do you, on behalf of the town or this side of things, just start to say, this is the outcome we have to have, this is what we're going for? Grace, everybody has to talk about a settlement as if it's, I guess, good faith discussions. But with so many people standing up and so many boards articulating the reasons for denial so well, and Homeland coming back, which I think we all think is pretty soft, through just as I think they're just looking to get themselves through a settlement discussion and power on. How reliant do you feel about the capabilities of Mr. Rice and the interest of the insurance company representing what the boards have already ruled on in denial of these applications?
That's a good question. It's a stall tactic. I'm not an attorney, so I can't rate attorneys, and I feel like that the board's interests, obviously, as community members, align with community members' interests.
And
So
thank you for that, because you guys have all gone through a
there's
lot
no
about this.
question
so,
about
yeah.
that. There's no question about our boards. There's no question about the reasoning behind why we've denied this. But on the other side of that, they do have federal law on their side, and that's a big stick.
And again, I don't want to get into the weeds on this either, but I think what we've all sort of learned is the federal law of the FCC is, at this moment in time, I think thankfully, about mandating that there's voice communications.
Right.
And I can tell you from what I do know in that industry is the big foot race now is about TV. They're trying to deliver TV on cell phones because all the generations behind us are small screen kids and they're all watching TV.
Right.
I shared there's an ad in New York City about, get wireless, we'll give you TV for free, and that's AT&T. And so I think the real big push is these guys are clearly, and they've, in all the ways they've sort of twisted around their applications and their wording and stuff, they're fighting to be a TV supplier and provider. AT&T and Verizon, I know from industry trades, are really fighting to be ultimately what Cablevision was, what DirecTV is, and all that stuff. And I just want to make sure that Mr. Rice or anybody else has to go through that process. And to me, at the federal level, it is, listen, we have voice communications here. We have what the FCC has mandated, what it requires. These people are trying to deliver television, and to deliver television, and I'll say just high bandwidth content in whatever form, takes a lot of cell towers because it doesn't go as far. And that's part of what's going on. That's part of this little niche that Homeland Towers has carved out in these regions. and they're plowing into these places, and it's happening all over America in all these communities. It's incredible what we have been able to do through the boards to sort of take a stand. It's really pushed a lot of people back, and a lot of people saying, wow, we are one of few towns in the country that have denied an application and tried to stand on some firm footing. I just want to make sure Mr. Rice and everybody is fighting this on that very sliver of thing of the SCC's mandating voice communications. They're not mandating that AT&T and Verizon and Homeland Tower service companies provide, high bandwidth content access. And I feel like that's getting a little lost from, I guess, the sides of it. And again, I can't speak for Mr. Rice. I just want to make sure that the bedrock of what this is all about is voice communications. We provided affidavits. We've done all this stuff. And I just want to make sure that doesn't get lost in the mix of all this. And I have to say I don't have any knowledge about it, and thank you for sharing it, that between the insurance company and Mr. Rice, and I'm glad to hear you say the board has to approve a settlement, because I think we'd all be in that situation of why do we want to settle on anything like Roger was saying. They've been denied, and they've been denied with reason and a lot of forethought and a lot of information. So again, I thank you for your efforts and stuff. I'm really hoping that we can sort of get Mr. Rice to up his game a little bit, or certainly his communications, because these things are, once we get past August 30th, that train is going to be rolling out of the station pretty big time. So we all have to make our best effort at that particular place, I think. So thank you for that.
I sat through every one of these zoning hearings. I've been through every one of them. And to me, the key is that there's a tower a mile away from where they're proposing this.
Yeah.
And for any judge or court to decide, we're opposed to cell towers, there's one less than a mile away from the one they're proposing. So they can't prove that we're opposed to it or that there's a lack of service in the area. There's a tower right there. So that, to me, that's the key that would hopefully support the decisions of our board.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Of course, my fear is that if you get a pro-business judge or, somebody just looks at this stuff and says, oh, what's this little town trying to do anyway, get in the way of progress. And part of that is when you go through all those things that all the boards with such incredible thought and incredible education and getting up to speed so quickly went through, made some really thoughtful positions about this. Obviously, it's not in the best interest. If Homeland Security loses Philipstown, Nelsonville, there's a lot of towns they're going to have a lot of trouble with, so they're throwing everything at it they can. But my concern is going into that August 30th date, everybody's got to be on their toes, because that will really decide a lot of things, even though it's a settlement hearing. And again, depending on where that judge is and, pro-business or whatever it may be, if he doesn't really get to hear the real basis on which those applications processes were denied, and what the reality is, and you make the best one, it's a mile away. So yeah, you're right. So thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so here's what I'll do. Tomorrow, I'll give Terry Rice a call, and I'll make sure that he and I sit down and set up a meeting with Campanella. I mean, I think it's good to pool our resources and all get on the same page. And if, your generous support could support the town's position, which is everybody's position. So we appreciate that. But I will make that call first thing tomorrow.
Sorry, I have one other question I had to ask. Does it make sense to have a workshop, some sort of a workshop where everybody can get together, even though I know it's public and all that stuff, just to...
Not involving a legal matter, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not an attorney, but that'd be a tough sell.
Who wrote the denial from the Philipstown board?
Drake Loeb.
Because that was very well proposed, very well thought out.
Yeah, they're a good firm.
Quoted all the things that needed to be quoted in one, and that's what I'd like to see obviously go forward when we defend the lawsuit or whatever. So.
Okay. Moving along. Anything else from the audience? Yes, sir.
Yes, hi. Jason Diafor. I was involved with the
Yeah.
Nelsonville application as
You
a
gotta
PCF. Oh, I'm sorry. I am an attorney. Doesn't look like it. I'm on vacation.
But you did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express.
There you go.
Richard has jeans on.
But I did want to clarify one thing. I mean, this is an appeal, so it's limited to the record, of course. So I'm not familiar with the extent to which issues like voice service versus broadband were raised or formed part of the decision in this application. So I'm not sure of that. So I understand Steve's point about there being that distinction in federal law, which is the case. However, if it wasn't part of the underlying denial, then it won't be before the court at the appeal. So the appeal will be limited to reviewing the basis of the denial. But I just wanted to raise that point and make sure that everyone was aware of that.
Our neighbors were very involved, and this was raised extensively. In fact, we did our own research, doing drive tests, all kinds of tests on various days. It's very extensive if somebody looks at it.
Okay. So that was, but there were submissions made?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. Well, I'm sure.
The record is voluminous. There's no
Right.
doubt about
John's
that.
still tired.
Okay, that's great, because that speaks to then
I'll tell you
the,
the concern I had was that our own second RF expert didn't get, and we're talking about gaps in service, didn't distinguish between 4G gaps and voice gaps, and that, I don't understand that.
right.
I hope that was just prepped in, or dealt with in the deposition.
Slide, there was even a slide showing Verizon covering the town of Philipstown 100% with 3G, so that kind of,
Right.
there's your voice, throughout the town.
And just speaking as a member of the Philipstown Cell Solutions Group, and I know that we focused our efforts in the Nelsonville application, but obviously we're interested in what happens here. But to speak to Terry Rice's expertise or lack thereof, we did do a little bit of research on the side once we had heard that he was appointed as the board's attorney. And there were mixed reviews that we found, and I'm not here to disparage anyone or anything. It's a matter of public record. There's some news articles that weren't the most positive, but then he turns up in a lot of the treatises on municipal law, for example, where he's absolutely an expert and very knowledgeable. So I think it depends on what perspective you're approaching it from, but by all accounts, he seems to be a competent attorney. I just don't know, I haven't seen any evidence that he's well-versed in telecommunications law, and that's why it would be great to have Mr. Campanelli involved, because he's one of the few experts in the field. But that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
I would add one point which is of interest. The RF report from PureCon, which is HT's.
Excuse me. Come on.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I don't want to say this because I might give something away to the legal case.
There we go. That's the danger of discussing these things in public. That's why you have lawyers, and that's why you have. All right. If that's that, we're going to move on. Vacancies, 0. It's hard to believe. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion to adjourn.
No workshop scheduled?
No,
Okay.
Summer.
Just want to make sure.
we don't have to schedule them. They just keep coming. If you look at the preview of the minutes. Meeting adjourned. I'll make that call tomorrow.